Welcome, everybody, to the Yo Kids Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Gargano. This is the podcast that surrounds everything youth sports. So I've covered pro and college sports, the highest level, and I have fallen in love with youth sports. I'm a big believer in sports for children. I just think it's such a great outlet and keeps them out of trouble, they learn so many great life lessons. So as we go forward with the podcast, we're going to be talking to a lot of different people in the world of youth sports. We'll talk to some professional athletes who have children of themselves. We'll talk about the journey of the athlete. We'll highlight some of the terrific youth sports athletes across the Delaware Valley and beyond. But really, we really wanted to try to give some advice to the parents. Listen, if you got a good story, good idea, please, like I said, hit me up and we'll get to it. Yo Kids Sports Podcast. And don't forget, our Yo Kids Sports Podcast is presented by Primo Hoagies. Listen, know what I've always said for years and years and years. It's not just a hoagie, it's a Primo. And this fall, whether you're tailgating, football, soccer, it's youth, you name it, make sure you got your Primo Hoagie party tray. Nothing like it for the big game. And speaking of football and the big game, this fall we're giving away a trip to Vegas to see the very big game to one very lucky, very deserving coach. So if you know a youth coach that you think deserves recognition for their outstanding dedication and passion, make your nominations today. PrimoHoagies.com. You can go directly mvc.primohoagies.com. Our most valuable coach promotion here at Primos. I love it. We got to shine some love, give some love to these youth coaches that spend their time, many of whom just getting their full and no compensation. So they're the best. Nominate your favorite coach. Again, it's the Primo Hoagies most valuable coach contest. I love it. I think it's great. And who knows, maybe they'll get to see the birds at the big game. Wouldn't that be something? Sports podcast. And I'm thrilled. I love our next guest. He's one of the great people in all of sports. His name's Andre Odom, agent for Athletes First. And Dre's done it all right? He was a coach. He's a football player at Temple. He coached at Temple. He was with the Bears in the NFL, and now he's an agent. Dre, thanks for hanging out, brother.
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
Good to see you, man. I love how you're representing, too.
Come on, man. You know we have to, Always about the Eagles, man. Come on.
You know what the best is? I'm expecting one day you're going to give Micah that hat.
Hey, man, listen, we'll see what happens, man. He loves where he is right now. He's a Cowboy, and they love him. So
I know. How could you not love? And we're talking about Micah Parsons, and we always joke, it's like an inside joke because I love when Micah talks about the Eagles. It's great. Like, like everybody loves him, man. He's such a terrific player.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hometown kid, right? He's from here. He loves the Eagles. Obviously, grew up rooting for them, and watching him as he was a child. So it's tough to not be an Eagles fan, right? When you're from here and you bleed green. But no love lost. But he loves where he is right now. So
that's right.
It happens.
That's right. Listen, one of the things that one of the reasons why there's a multitude of reasons why I really wanted to pick your brain and give advice to parents. Now, I need a little background, but people have to understand that you were a coach, right? You did it at the collegiate level. You then worked in the NFL with the Bears, and now as an agent. So you've had this multitude of different roles within the sports industry.
Yeah. No, and I actually started on a high school level. When I was working at PNC Bank, I started coaching high school at my alma mater, George Washington High School, under my head coach, Ron Cohen. So he gave me my first shot and first taste of what it's like to be a coach, right? And being hands-on with children and, understanding the process and the nuances and the grind of it all. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth, as they say. It was a phenomenal journey. It's always a It's always an incredible experience when you're dealing with children, right? Because you have to, you can't only coach them, you have to teach them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that gets lost in translation sometimes, that we kind of forget that they're still children, right? And we're teaching them the ropes, right? Not just about football, but values in life. And it's the same thing when you transition to the representation side of the business, right? You have these young kids and their families, and they're entering a world where they don't have any experience. They don't know. We're all human, right? We're all here to experience things and make mistakes and make decisions, etc. But if you can find someone that can help educate you on the process and help walk you through, the
Right.
process, and help alleviate or eliminate, right, and mitigate some of the risks that come along with it, that's what it's all about, and that's my favorite part of what I do. I don't have a job. This is a lifestyle for me, but it's the best job in the world, in my personal opinion. With all due respect to all the other specialists and doctors and people that do way more important stuff than we do, right? But it's all relative. I mean, we're working with children and families, and we're helping them accomplish their goals and see it through.
What I always loved about you is that you were always from the heart. So you were always, you would look at, kids and families. And this is why you're the greatest agent. Like
You say that.
seriously, if I knew a kid that was really good, I mean, I would trust them. I would only trust you. I mean, because I know it's in your heart,
Yeah.
and it's a tough world. And look, it's a lottery ticket that kids can be blessed with, but it's got to be treated securely and it's got to be nurtured. And you see this world, I mean, it's crazy at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think the toughest part is a lot of a lot of these children and these parents, they don't understand what comes with this. It's a huge responsibility when you're this elite level athlete. You have people coming from you from all angles. So you have to learn how to say no. You have to learn how to mitigate risk and or eliminate risk, right? You have to learn how to distinguish, the right from the wrong, right? Like who's going to be good for you, who's not going to be good for you. And it's tough for athletes. Like we have to
Yeah.
be honest with ourselves, right? These are young kids, young men and women, and they're brought into this space now where you have everything imaginable that you grew up 9 times out of 10 not having, right? You have it all at your disposal now, and you also have to make the right decisions with it. So it's tough, man. And then you have everybody calling you, and everybody wants something now because now you're the breadwinner, you're the ticket. So it's not easy for the players, right? The players they have a tough time, man, because their success in everybody else's mind is everybody's success, right?
Right.
But their
Right.
failures are their failures alone,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And it shouldn't
Yeah.
be like that, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's the toughest part, man. I really do it from the heart, man, because I care about people. You know what I mean? I care about these young men and women, and their families. So, I always tell my little brothers, man, like, yeah, your success may not be your own, but your failures aren't your own either, man. We're in this together. So you can't fail, because if you fail, I fail. You know what I'm saying? And that's not happening on my watch if I can do anything to mitigate that or eliminate it. So
How do you, when you go about representation, and at what age are you looking at kids? I mean, like what age are you, first engaging in relationship and looking and, identifying what kind of talent? I
yeah.
mean, especially now, it's such a wild world with NIL money, right? And how the college landscape has changed. So what's the process like? If you're a parent of a kid who's 12 years old who
Mhm.
is terrific and big and everything else, like what do you do?
There's two sides to it. You have the player and the family side, where you have this, as you alluded to, this young 12, 13-year-old talented or uber talented kid who obviously he's destined to go places. Now you have all these people reaching out. You know, you have a responsibility, obviously, as a parent, to monitor and help, this transition, this process. But a lot of parents don't know what they don't know either. So it's tough on them as well. That's why it's important for you to do your best to find an incredible circle of influence. And it's tough because when all these agents are coming at you, everything kind of sounds redundant at some point. But a lot of this stuff sounds good, right? Because you've never heard it. And then, you're hearing how great your kid is. And obviously, you as a parent, you already know how great he is. But then when you hear it from all these people on the outside, it's like, oh my God, it's just like, this is real. It's true. So, like, what are we going to do? So, as a parent, you know, being careful about who you allow into your child's life is paramount. And again, that's a hard job on parents too, because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And everybody sounds good until it's not and until they're not, right? So
Yeah.
that's the first part. And then the opposite side of that, for us as agents and advisors, you have to start early at this point now because of NIL. You can't sit back and wait. You have to get out there, you have to recruit, you have to identify the talent at an early age and start trying to build that relationship because there's so many great agencies and there's so many great agents. So the competition is great.
It's
So
22 hours.
so you have to figure out a way to get to them early, distinguish yourself from everybody else, right? Find a way to break through. But more importantly, I think the toughest part on our side now is that we have to get in so early is that you have to be able to sustain the relationship over a long period of time. It's like
What
being
age are we talking about?
I mean, you have agents going after high school kids that are, freshmen in high school, sophomores in high school. Obviously basketball has been doing this for the longest.
Yeah.
So it's not new to basketball, but it's new to the
Right.
football world, right? Like, and that's a long time to sustain a relationship. Like, think about being in a relationship with a beautiful young lady, right? Like, you have to keep her attention. You have to keep the relationship fresh. And as the years go on, right, things start to change a little bit. There may be some boredom starting to set in or whatever it is. So, it's the same for this. So it depends on what your process is.
Right.
A lot of agents are going to get in early and as they should. And other agents may say, you know what, I don't know about that. I don't think I can sustain a relationship for that long. So let me just wait. So it's tough on both sides. I don't have a perfect answer for it. I don't know, man. It's tough.
Like obviously you approach the family, the parents, the guardians, whatever the situation is
Mhm.
with the athlete and the young athlete. Because the other thing too is like it's hard to actually have this. You have to be almost this big brother,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this almost father figure type of thing. Even if they have their own dad, they have their own
Yeah.
mom, whatever. But you still have to be that kind of
Sure.
look out for them
Yeah.
and understand, like, hey, look, guys, like this is kind of my world. I've navigated it, right? Like, you
Mhm.
want to help, the right college, the right situation,
Mhm.
that I want to be your guy, that you're basically their football life counselor, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. You owe a fiduciary duty when you're dealing with these young men to not only the player, but to the family to lead and guide them in the right direction. That's not negotiable. At the end of the day, their success, again, is going to be your success, right? And their failure is going to be your failure as well. So why wouldn't you want to do what's right by them? Another challenging part is that when dealing with the families, you have to, hope and pray that you connect with the right families.
Right. Right.
Because unfortunately, there's some families out there that may be a little more challenging than others. So it's all about fit. Like anything else, it's all about fit, right? Like I know I'm not going to be a great fit for every family, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like I'm good with that. I know I'm not going to be a great fit for every player, and I'm okay with that too because I'm always going to win the ones I'm supposed to win. Especially for me, right? I'm super duper hands on. Relationships are everything to me, right? Because if you don't have a relationship with your client, nothing else matters. So finding a way to build that relationship and sustain it with not only the client but the family is critical. So at least for my method and how I operate, that's my strategy, right? Like because it matters to me. Because I know if my relationship is impeccable, there's nothing gonna break that.
And so it's funny because you mentioned the families. And
Mhm.
look, like, obviously, let's be real here for a second, right? Some families are looking at their kid like that's a meal ticket,
For
right?
sure.
Like, it's about getting paid.
Mhm.
And that's all they're looking at. Is,
Mhm.
well, how am I going to get the most money? I raised the kid. I want to pay out. I want the whole thing. And that's got to be difficult because from youth coaches, and you're a dad, and we're going to get to your kids coming up, but from youth coaches to high school coaches to college coaches, they all say the same thing. Oh, the parents, they just have to just let it be and not be so overbearing.
Yeah. You know how tough it is for parents to not be overbearing, though?
Yes.
It takes a
I'm
special
one. I'm an overbearing sports dad, man.
it takes a special breed of parent to not be overbearing, right?
Yeah,
Because it's your baby. You understand what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like, you raised and developed and nurtured this child, and now this child is turning into a prodigy of some sort. So you want to make sure that you're super duper hands-on and you're there for every single moment. But as you alluded to, you have the flip side of that, where it's parents that are only in it for the monetary value. And that right there, I can't really speak on that because, I come, obviously, where I come from. I come from nothing as well, right? So, it's tough when you come from extreme circumstances and you never had money before in your life. And now you're about to walk into a situation where, unfortunately, you weren't able to garner that much revenue, but your child is about to, right? So they're looking at it from a standpoint of, this is a family thing, right? So yeah, he's doing it, but it's for us. So I see it from both sides, man. And I try to be understanding and, not to be politically correct, man. That's not my style, but I see it from both sides because
Yeah.
listen, when you come from the projects or from the hood,
Well,
man,
you're from North Philly, and let people
yeah,
know that North Philadelphia, you came
yeah,
from a tough area.
from a tough area, it was not stable at all. And as I always allude to, extreme circumstances, right? Like not knowing when you're gonna have or get your next meal, right? Eating one time per day, sleeping on the floor. I didn't own my first bed until I got to college. A lot of people don't think about it from that perspective. So when you're in a family like that and you're close to your family, yeah, it's gonna be about the family. Like this money is for us. So um, it's a case by case basis though, so I try not to judge too much. I try to just be understanding, but more importantly, educate the player, right? And the family if they want to be educated. But if the family doesn't want to be educated, I'll educate the player and just let them know, like, hey man, you can't save everyone. You just
Yeah.
can't, right? Because
Yeah.
when your well dries up, who's going to replenish you? Right. So
And and the other thing too is you're dealing with such, youth, like such
yeah,
young kids
yeah, very impressive.
that, right? Like they're dealing with, we look at athletes like they're superheroes.
Hmm.
And, you know, they go through heartbreak, right? Like, right? They
Yeah,
go through disappointment. They
sure.
go through, and there's no empathy. Like one of the things that we all love sports, but we need more empathy, especially for the young athletes, right? From high school to college, which is why like the Deion Sanders story was a beautiful story. I
Sure.
think the world like fell in love with
Mm.
that whole thing because you know what? He cares for those kids.
I'm happy you actually said that, Ant. You want to know why? Let's think about this real quick. I promise not to bloviate. Think about the amount of pressure that professional athletes go through. Imagine this. You get drafted to a city. It's not your city, right? You don't know anybody there, or they don't really know you, but you're hired to do a job and you get paid handsomely for it, right? But every single day you have to show up to the facility. You have to maximize the day. Meaning every single day you have to come in there and execute at the highest level. Every single day, because every single day could be your last day. And every single year, these franchises are looking to do what? Improve, right? So think about the amount of pressure and stress that's on the professional athlete by having to live up to that standard every single day. And that's just in practice. Let's not even talk about the game. That's just practice. When you go to the game, now you got the fans. You got 70,000 fans in the stadium, either cheering or booing you, right? And then you have to worry about the media and the rest of the fans that are watching TV from home. So you have all these people at all times with all eyes on you, and you have to show up. Dude, the hardest thing in the world for human beings to be is consistent. And that's
Yes.
just regular people like you and I.
Yeah, you're right,
These
right.
athletes, dog. Like, bro,
Yeah.
they have to show up every single day and be consistently excellent, man. with no lack or no step backwards. That's incredibly tough. That's not for the weak at heart, man. It's not for everyone. So yes, we have to learn how to, as fans and people, we have to have more empathy for these players because these guys are human. And these women are human, right? Like they have emotions. They go through things. That's a tough job, man. I don't know if I could do it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a tough job, man.
Oh, and especially when you're talking about, you know, kids, right? Like we're think about, we all have stars in our eyes, right? Like as young people, like we want to conquer the world.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody. You could be great in high school,
Yeah.
right? And
And
you could
dud
be
in college.
right. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you see it all the time.
And then you have the fans in college booing you and writing nasty, disgusting letters and stuff about you now on IG and
Oh,
Twitter.
so yeah,
It's tough, man. It's not easy being an athlete, man. Male or female, doesn't matter what sport, doesn't matter what level, high school, even little league. Yo, man, I've seen some of the craziest things like you have as well, right? With some of these parents who live vicariously through their children.
yep.
Only thing that they can see, as you said earlier, right? Like is the bright future, the dollar signs at the end of the tunnel. But the pressure that they put on the kids at that young age, man, it's tough, man. It's a shame.
Well,
I couldn't do that to my
yeah,
children.
right. And listen, the reality. So when you look at parents that think, I got a promising
Yeah.
athlete, you're in your mind, you're probably going, listen, it's a big world out there, right? There's a lot of great athletes. The chances are your son or daughter, they will not make college, let
Yeah.
alone the
Yeah.
a professional team.
For sure, for sure. I mean, because if you think about the numbers, right? In high school, you have you know, in just one area where there's 10 high schools, you have about, 1,500 players, right? And that's just in that one area, right? Like times that by every daggone city and every daggone county. That's a lot of numbers. And then only 2% of
Yeah,
those kids go on to play college football,
yeah,
right? And there's 117 Division One
yeah.
colleges, and there's 109 players on that 117 teams, right? Do the math, right? Like that's a lot of people. That's a lot of players, and only a small portion of them are going to make it to the pros. So, I mean, I don't think it's worth it, man. That's why I always believe in, exposing your children to different things in life and allowing them to make the decisions that they want, but more importantly, allow them to try everything because you never know. You don't want them to miss the boat by only focusing on this. No, expose them to everything. Let them see everything and empower them. Ask them what they want because what they want may not be what you want.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And they very well may be, you know, deemed to be excellent in something else. So
I know it's so interesting because you're here to guide them into something, and when it comes to sports, and
mhm.
listen, I think, um, like I know for my kids, right? Like I look at them, and the only goal is, all right, let them go play high school or whatever, and then if God bless, if it can help you get into college,
Yeah,
right? Because it makes you a well-rounded athlete. And the other thing that sports does is, and you know this better than anybody, it could save you, man. It saves you from a lot of bad things. We know the drug issues and drug problems going on and
yeah,
all kinds of issues. Kids get so much out of playing sports.
they do. They do. I mean, I look at it now. I have four children of my own, right? Two girls, two boys. My girls are the oldest, and they're so competitive. Bro, they're so competitive, right? But it's beautiful because I personally believe that having them ingratiated in the sports culture at a young age where they're learning to compete and embrace it keeps their mind focused on what matters most and not the other stuff.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like they just came in from travel soccer where they're out there for an hour and a half, close to 2 hours, grinding in the
yeah.
95
He, yeah,
weather. Right? So they're dead dog tired. They're like sleep right now, right? That's the stuff that matters. You're training them at a young age.
Welcome to Primo. How can we help you today?
One old-fashioned meatball, and make it quick, because I got practice.
You got it. Coach?
Congratulations, Coach!
You've been nominated by your team to win 2 tickets to the big game!
Wait, nominated? So I didn't win?
Smile. Not yet, Coach.
Most valuable
Not
coach.
yet.
Smile,
Not
coach.
yet.
Smile.
Come on, smile.
Smile for the
Smile.
Cowboys, coach.
You got to be kidding me.
Smile, coach.
Again, lock in, focus, right? Attention to detail. More importantly, figure out something that you love, give it your all, and understanding the fact that understanding the fact that when you commit to something, you have to follow through. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Follow through with it, right? If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, great. Everything's going to be fine. But when you commit to something and you give it your all, there are no losses. You're only learning. And that's what we do our best to instill in our children, right? And my wife she's more of the cheerleader. She's the one that's super excited and hyped up in the background when she's recording. You hear her all through the videos and all that. Yo, bro, I'm the complete antithesis of that, right? Like, I'm quiet. I'm just there being a fan, right? But I don't like cheer. I don't
Right.
coach them up. I just don't do that, because at the end of the day, right, this is their journey. You know what I'm saying? I just want them to enjoy it. I just enjoy being a fan. I let coaches do what they do. I let the girls just kind of, figure it out. And if they ask me a question, I'll obviously answer it. But I'm just here to support and be a fan. That's it. I'm taking them to practice. I'm staying there the whole time. I'm recording. I'm taking them home. I'm taking them to the games.
How about that? Isn't it the greatest when you're in the car with them? And your kids play 11U soccer, right?
Yeah, 11-year-old travel soccer. Yeah,
which is great, right?
Yeah.
And so I always think those moments when you're with the kids in the car after a game or after practice, it's like they're always going to remember that. It's great bonding time, man.
It is. And it's crazy because, bro, sometimes, after practice, they don't feel like talking.
Right.
I don't know if I told you, they're like championship swimmers too.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they're like phenomenal, like literally like phenomenal. Like they just had summer swim, and each one of them, they swam 4 events and they medaled in 3 of their individual events, and they medaled in their relays. Like they're like really, really good. So
wow,
with that, like when they're leaving swim practice 8:00 at night, they're so beat. Dude, they don't want to talk. They're just trying to figure out what we're gonna eat for dinner, what the
right?
look like. You know what I mean? Let's get back home and just relax. So, but nah, it is great bonding time. Even if you don't get a chance to talk, they're just back there just napping, right? It's just because you're there and they know you're there. Like you're picking them up, and it's a different kind of.
There's a safe, like they feel safe.
Yeah,
like dad's here, man. So
that's right.
Like
and that's why I embrace it, bro. That's why I embrace it. Like my wife's awesome. Like she would do it voluntarily with no issues, right? But that's kind of my job, right? Especially when I'm not on the road. Like my time is devoted to my babies. Like I take them to school, I pick them up from school, I take them to all their doctor's appointments. I'm going too deep, obviously, in the family stuff, but it is what it is.
No. Listen, because and one of the reasons why I love you as a guest on this platform is because you are a dad.
Yeah.
And you're a great dad, and you're a sports dad.
Yeah.
And having girls, being girl dad and boy dad, and having girls that are these elite swimmers, that's a whole other world that you're into now. That here you are, football guy, right? Now you're in this swimming world, which you probably didn't know much about.
I don't know much about it either. That's why, we have a great relationship with their swim coach. Coach Lindsay, she's amazing. So like, they swim 3 times a week for practice, and the meets are usually on like Saturday or Sunday or whatever. But their swim coach, Coach Lindsay, she'll admit, like, I stay out the way. Andre doesn't bother me. Like I literally stay out the way. I don't question anything. Even summer swim, they have a different coach for summer swim, but I let coach do his thing, right? Like, because that's not my lane, right? I don't know if now they'll come and tell me like, Poppy, I should be swimming in, the 4x1 with, the older girls or whatever, or this girl shouldn't be in whatever. I mean, that's them, and I'll listen to them, but that's not my responsibility. That's not my job, right? Like, talk to your coach about that.
Right, right.
You have to build those boundaries and let them know, like, yes, questioning things are okay, but we don't do any complaining, right? And if you do have a question, it's okay to speak up and ask a question. So there's so many life lessons and values that are taken out of sports.
Yeah,
And there's so much to learn, and that's why I'm happy that my children, they actually embrace, being athletes. I don't even think they know what they're doing right now.
right.
I don't think Moss or Lou, I don't think they know what they're doing right
Yeah.
now. They're doing things that are so incredible that we never did, by the way, right? And it's special. It's special, man. Like I don't know. I can't really explain it into words.
No, you're spot on. It's funny, but all these little lessons, right? Like I had to get a little lesson on the young one because Mas was, he had baseball practice,
Mhm.
and coach said, he wasn't busting it. Right? We asked him to have when you take BP and you have to pick up the balls,
Okay.
and he was pretty like nonchalant picking up
Uh-huh.
the balls, and I had to have a conversation with him. Like we talked to coach, and I mean, we don't do it this way. Like
Yeah.
you're playing on a travel team, you're
Right.
playing, and there's responsibility, and
Absolutely.
practice is you're supposed to always bust it. Like
Right.
you're supposed to
Right.
show coach that you want it
Right.
because achievers will achieve in those moments, not just in a game.
Right. No, that's for sure. That's 100% right. And effort is everything. You can't coach effort. That's in you.
Right.
You might be the most talented, but that effort has to be there. And that transcends sports. That goes in
It
everything in
does.
life.
It's about life. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I grind my girls up. I don't play that. Like I
Yeah.
don't care how much better another child is than you or what, like you're gonna grind. You're going
Right.
to give effort. That's
Right.
non-negotiable in this household. You are
Yeah.
going to give effort, and you're going to give it your all. If you
School and sports. I mean, that's it.
don't,
It's
it's
all your
all
responsibilities.
that's it. No,
You know?
but listen. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a learning process, right? And we all have learning curves. We're still learning to this day, and they're still learning to this day. So it's on us to lead and guide them in the right direction, educate them as best as possible, but more importantly, hold them accountable.
So I'll ask you, if the boys want to play football,
No,
no.
nah, not having it. Not having it. Not,
Oh,
not if I have anything to do with it. That's the only thing. So I don't push my children to do anything. Like I didn't push my
right.
girl to swim. I
Yeah.
didn't push them to play soccer or anything like that.
Right.
But I will protect them and I will advocate for something to not happen. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not a big fan of I'm not a big fan of football at a young age. I just don't think it's necessary. And also obviously depends on, who's coaching them and what the
Right.
program's like and all that stuff matters because it's a lot of punishment on your body for no reason. Because as we alluded to early, 97% of the kids that play football will never,
Right.
ever make
Right.
money doing it. People ask me all the time, did you play, right? And I was like, yeah, unfortunately. They always say, why you say unfortunately? I mean, I wasn't able to maximize my value. I didn't generate any revenue. It wasn't worth it. It was a bad investment.
But here's my counter. It helped you become a grinder. Like that's always inside you,
That's always inside you.
right? But you know that football is not fun. All right. Football practice
Yeah.
is not a fun thing. All
Yeah.
right. It's not. Like you feel great that you've done it.
Yeah.
Like when it's over,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where you feel that sense of accomplishment. You're bone tired
Yeah.
and you feel great. But it's got incredible lessons. Like
Yes.
Anthony, like I'll tell you, brother, I feel almost indebted to football because again, typical. Like I remember being like in sixth grade and a little pudgy and a little, a good personality, but a little introverted.
Yeah.
And he played football, and he loved it, and he would, killed it in practice.
Yeah.
and he's such a great kid, like such a great coachable. And all of a sudden, his shoulders went back, his chest is out, and like he's like a little
Hey,
stud.
he's
And
the man.
and 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 I think it gave him a lot of great self worth.
Yeah.
I think it helped his self esteem.
Yeah, no, that's true. You make valid points for sure all over. I mean, for me, it was different because I was an amateur boxer as well, right? So
Right, right.
working in the boxing world, which I think is the toughest sport, next to
Yes.
wrestling. Those two are go neck and neck, right?
Yeah.
So for me, football was added value. But no, you're right. It definitely teaches you a ton of life lessons, and it pushes you beyond your limit. It tests you
It
mentally.
does.
You know
It
what I'm saying?
does.
It tests to see if you are resilient or if you're gonna fold physically, mentally, emotionally as well. Because you may not get the spot you think you should have gotten or wanted. So yeah, no, you're right. There's a ton of different lessons playing football. You're right. But I just don't know, bro. I gotta see, man.
I know. I know. I'm going to have this conversation when they get older.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to follow up on this one, bro.
So when you get back to your gig, your job, which
Yeah.
is representing NFL players, you
Mhm.
have Micah Parsons, you have Kyle Pitts, you have a number of terrific young players.
Mhm.
Um,
Super lucky, by the way, man. I'm super lucky to have them guys.
oh, and I'm sure they feel the same way. I mean, that kind of thing. I mean, how much you guys they lean on you. Like they need you. Like you need to be in their lives, man.
Mhm.
They need somebody they can count on.
Right.
That away from family, away from media, away from all they can have that conversation with you.
For sure, for sure. And that's the ultimate goal. When you have that kind of relationship, with your guys and they respect you, and they know that you're not gonna tell them what they want to hear, right? Like you're gonna tell them exactly what it is, and that's that. And it's non-negotiable, right? But you're also gonna love them. You're gonna kick their butt when it's time to kick their butt and hold them accountable, as you should, right? Because you owe them as I alluded to earlier, fiduciary duty, right?
Yeah,
Being an advisor, an attorney, an agent, all the above, but also being able to love them, have that relationship with them where you guys have fun together. You're going out bowling or, just hanging out on the beach or playing one-on-one basketball, whatever it is, right? Like that's what's important to me. So like I look and I yearn for that stuff with my guys because I need to figure out a way to break down your defense mechanisms. So I like to see how competitive guys are, right? Like so I'll go bowling. We're gonna, we're gonna see who's gonna win. We're gonna see who's gonna come out on top of this, right? Because I like to see how guys, react to, being in tough environments with people that they don't really know and is competing, right? Like, are you going to fold? Are you going to step up? You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff matters for me. And you build relationships that way, right? And when you're more importantly, when you're consistent and you're there for them, they appreciate that, man.
yeah,
Because a lot of guys in this business, unfortunately, they don't have that. They don't have it from their family. They don't have it from their friends. They don't have it from their circle of influence, unfortunately. So I just do my best to be consistent. I do my best to be present, be available, whether it's text, FaceTime, phone call, in person. Like that's the stuff that matters. So
So let's go with some advice,
yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
let's take the high school kid.
Yeah.
So you got this high school talent. What's the best road? You have Division I schools looking at them.
Mhm.
What advice do you come into the situation, and how do you guide them and help get to that picking the right school for them?
Yeah, so my biggest thing is when you're picking those schools, because I had a chance to go through this process with a few of my young guys, Sharif Floyd, guys like that. And you have to pick a school not based on the coach. The coach can come and go as he please, right? You have to pick a school that's going to be willing to welcome you in, develop you, but more importantly, be there for you once you're done. And there's some schools out there that just don't do that, and there's other schools that believe in that and promote it, right? Like I know at Temple when we were there, like we did a heck of a job of promoting bringing back our older guys and having them come commit themselves and be around the younger guys and help educate them, give them knowledge, things like that. That stuff matters, right? Seeing guys that have done it before you and having them actually come back and educate you. It's one thing to hear it from your coach, right?
Right.
At some point, you're gonna get tired of hearing it from Dre, right? Like you
Right.
hear it from a Muhammad Wilkerson or a Bernard Pierce, guys like that, right? Because they've been there, done that, and they actually have the credibility. So, for high school kids, just making sure you pick the right school. And how do you do that? Again, making sure it's the best fit for you. The money is the money. The money's going to come. Every school is, for the most part, in a good financial space. NIL, it'll take care of itself. You'll earn your money, but you have to go where the opportunity is going to be. But more importantly, where it's going to be a great circle of influence that's going to help develop you over time. Because a lot of these schools, unfortunately, a lot of them just they don't practice what they preach, right? And the coaches come and go. So I would never ever advocate for a player to sign to a school because of a coach. Because if he leaves, then you're stuck, and then you're going to be somebody else's problem now, right? Who
Yeah.
didn't recruit you?
Yeah.
So
And you know how guys are, like, if you're their guy,
they're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. If you're a 5-star, 4-star player, you bless them with an opportunity.
Mhm.
So they're going to be more inclined to take care of you while you're there, but more importantly, even when you leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially the great programs, right? Like, and the good people that are coaches. So that's what I would do, and that's what I always, advocate for my younger guys to do that I mentor. You know what I mean? It's not about the money. The money will come. It's about the opportunity.
And you got to think about, like, positions change,
Mhm.
your body changes. Like when you're looking in high school, your body will change as
Yeah.
you get to college. I mean, you see it, we see it from kids from, 10 to
Mhm.
12 and 12 to 14. And then through high school, I mean, your body changes everything about you. So your position, it affects everything.
Yeah, it does. It does. And if you're not with people that really want to see you grow and people that truly stand by what they said when they came into your living room to sit with you and your mom and your father, like then you're gonna be in a tough position. So everything sounds good. It's just like the agent process. Everything sounds good until you get into it, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think one of the biggest things for me is I always try to tell people to, don't listen to what people tell you, but look at their track record. Communicate, connect with people who've kind of been there and done that and see if it measures up, right? Like if your track record says that's who you are, right, wrong, or indifferent. So I think that's the best way because I could sit here and tell you everything under the sun and make it sound so luxurious and beautiful.
Right.
Then I can under deliver like it's nothing. You know what I mean? So I would always educate and advocate for my guys to just, check the track record, man. Go back and make sure this person does what he say he does. You know what I mean? So
Are you constantly, visiting and how much time on the road are you spending?
I spend a lot of time on the road. And it's not always about recruiting. It's about sustaining the guys that you currently have, right? Because if they are not in a good place, that's not good for anyone. For example, I just came back from visiting a couple of my guys, just going down there just to sit with them, for a day, go have dinner, go chill, play the game. Yo, you okay? Everything good?
That's
Talk.
before the season starts. It's the perfect time to kind of check in with them.
Oh, but I do it during the season too, though.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to
Yeah.
give my playbook out, but like
Right.
that stuff matters. You know what I mean? Like getting that one-on-one time matters, man. So, and guys appreciate that stuff too because they have a lot of stuff they're going through. Remember what I told you earlier? You gotta show up every single day, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of stress, man.
No,
It's a lot
no,
of
that's
pressure.
the truth.
And obviously we all love football and we love our team and teams, right? But we have to peel back the curtain and the layers and really look beneath all that and say, man, these players are really asked to do a lot. And yeah, they get paid a lot of money, but man, at some point the money can't matter. It's about the person. So
I think that messaging is just so important. I mean, it just think about I think about agents, right? And you think about Jerry Maguire and like the movies, the Hollywood, right? Show me the money, and it's just
yeah,
like such a despicable message, right? Like
tough.
it really is, like it's just despicable, the whole thing. prostituting kids basically, for their athletic prowess. I mean, there's so much as incredible it is sports that we talk about, we romanticize about it. It's so big and the money's so great that we forget that kids who don't make it and everybody gets cast aside, man. It's a nasty part of the business.
Well, what about the ones that do make it and then it gets swept from under them? What about them? And they have to make the transition into the professional world and figure out what else they're going to become professional in. And they're only 23 years old. They're babies. What about them? Yo, this is a tough business. And think about this, bro. And you know this. Every year there's 56, 57, 58, 59 players that get drafted, right? By the time the season starts, that list is sliced in half, and those guys are never heard from again. Think about that. How tough is that? It's an annual thing.
And there is a fine line between guys that can play in the league for 8 to 10 years and a guy that gets cast aside. I mean, it's not a lot, and it's an inexact science. These GMs, right? Who some are great and some, as the guy you're wearing a hat, and there's some guys that they are going to be out of a job in 2 years.
Exactly. That's exactly right, man. So you have to, like anything else, pick and choose wisely. The hit rate in that business is very, very difficult. And it's tough on the players, man, because there's also a lot of luck that goes into this too, bro. When you're drafted, you got to hope and pray that you're drafted to the right situation.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're not drafted into the right situation, that 1 year can turn into, 10 years if you're lucky and you go to the right situation, right? Or 5 years. Or that 1 year can turn into just that 1 year and then you're gone. And now once you're out, it's so hard to get back in. Even if you're good, there's so many talented kids that will just cut, that will never get another opportunity.
Yeah.
What about the kids from last year, the last year's draft, 2022? That got cut and they're nowhere to be heard from now. They're super talented as well. Yo, as you said, it's a fine line. There's minimal space. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to get lucky, man. You just have to get lucky and go to the right situation.
What was that? You got me. You talking about the draft. I'm thinking about when Micah Parsons was drafted, and that had to be, that's the ultimate moment for a guy like you and a guy like Micah going to as much as we don't like him, a great organization with really good ownership and a storied franchise, and you're there sharing the night with him. That had to be like a special memory.
I mean, it is, but you know me, Ant. Like, I don't know if you remember the draft, but there, obviously, Hey Rookie was recording it, and they obviously played it, and you'll see me. I'm in the back. I'm in the back. That's a family moment.
Yes.
Let them go and enjoy and just lavish in that time. That's not for me. That's for them. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't. That's not my child.
Right, you're right.
Yeah, like
high five it.
Like nah, man. Enjoy your family moment, man. Like I'm here to handle business. I'm here to protect you. But at the end of the day, I also have boundaries and I have respect. And I understand that moments like that are very personal. So I stood in the back, just let them do their thing.
Beautiful.
So
that's beautiful.
But it is a beautiful.
There's a couple things. I'm so curious about NIL and how it changed everything. And it's even in high school. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's completely a game changer in a lot of ways.
No, it's very crazy. It's completely eliminated the old way of doing business, for everybody, for colleges, agents, kids, high schools, all the above. Now kids are able to maximize their value from their name, image, and likeness monetarily at a young age in high school. I can't fathom it because when I came up, when you came up, you were just happy to get noticed. Now they're receiving, 5, 6, 7 figure deals, right, to go play high school football, basketball, et cetera. So it's completely changed the landscape. And, I'm happy for obviously the children, right, to get that opportunity. I'm happy for the parents because a lot of parents,
They need it.
struggling, need it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm happy for that, but at the same time, I think there's definitely a there's a challenge going on with an NIL that needs to be addressed and that will be addressed, in terms of, how you allocate money to some of these young people and their families and things of that nature, but more importantly, putting everyone on an even playing field. You know what I mean? Because and again, forgive me, but I think it's tough when you give and promise a young high school kid so much money, at such a young age. Is great, obviously, for the parents, for the family, for the kid. But at some point, it has to be like, all right, here's where we are, right? Like you make this commitment, you need to follow through with this commitment. You need to understand that it's not just about the money, it's about the process. Don't get lost in this. Like, yes, this NIL money is good, but what's the ultimate goal? Why'd you start playing ball? You can't lose track of
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And it's scary because I think some of the kids are going to lose track of that because they're receiving the fruits of their labor at such an early rate when it's like that's peanuts compared to what you can go out here and truly garner if you lock in and stay focused on the ultimate goal. So I just think and I believe that if a lot of the young guys just truly stay focused on the main thing, they're going to be fine if they don't get sidetracked with this NIL stuff.
Do you, because you get a lot of parents that are looking, to cash in on that.
For sure.
And and again, this goes from every economic standing. Do you believe in, specialty coaches and all these, like the AAU world? I mean, there's a huge youth sports circuit of, this guy's a pitching specialist. This guy's a hitting specialist. This guy's a fielding specialist. This guy just does quarterbacks. This guy does just O linemen. This guy does linebackers. Do you believe in all that? And when is a good time to actually invest in something like that?
No, I don't believe in all that. I just don't, especially at this young age, in like ninth grade, 10th grade, all that. Man, these kids are still babies, man. They need to learn how to have fun, man, and not be focused on going to your daggone pitching specialist or your QB. Like, man, it takes time. If you're good enough, they're gonna find you. Yeah. And what about all the kids that do all that stuff and never make it? Right? Like it's great for the specialist coaches to be getting paid, right?
Right.
That's great. You know what I mean? But at the same time, do the kids need it? No, I would never let my children do that, man. Like, nah, you need to focus on, sleeping well at night, eating your vegetables, juicing, right? Like that's the stuff that matters. Your athletic ability, stretching, right? I'll take you to a massage specialist. Well, the quarterback specialists and the shooting coaches, man, listen, no, I don't believe in any of that. Not at this early age now. As you get closer to the goal and we can
Sure.
kind of see
Yes.
who we may have an
And it's the
opportunity,
investment. Right.
and it's the investment too, right? But a lot of parents, a lot of parents don't look at it from that perspective, and that's okay. That's fair. That's fair. They want to make sure they give their child every opportunity to maximize on what they want. And I respect that. I'm not gonna lie. I respect that. I personally wouldn't do it because at the end of the day, there's no guarantees. Right. I want you to have fun with it. And then as we get closer, and I know you probably share the same philosophy, as we get closer and we can kind of see, oh my good, my actually have an opportunity here. Then we can implement those strategies, right? Like to me, I think that's most important. You know what I mean? We have a lot of time on our hands, man. I just don't believe. I think kids should play multiple sports as well. I don't think you should just focus on one sport. I think that's a detriment to these athletes focusing on one sport. No, play basketball, play football. Focus on being a great athlete. And how do you remain a great athlete? By doing athletic stuff.
Right.
Not
Right.
only focusing on lifting weights and hitting a ball this type of way. Man, you remain a great athlete by doing athletic things. I think all football players should play play basketball. Honestly, I do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Oh,
basketball.
it's great for your feet. I mean, movement, feet, everything goes down your feet anyway.
Right. Everything is movement.
Yeah.
So if you're not constantly practicing movement, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know, I that's just my personal opinion. And I think every basketball player should be, you know, maybe doing gymnastics, right? Or wrestling. You learn how to use your leverage and, you know, and be flexible and become explosive, things like that. So you know, I totally believe in that.
I love it. Well, listen, Drake, I mean, I so enjoyed it as always.
My God.
You're a treasure, and I love what you do for these kids, and I just think the messaging is so important. So thanks for what you do, buddy.
I appreciate you, brother, as always, man. Thank you for giving me your platform to speak. You know, I appreciate you for helping me get into this business, man. You gave me my first shot. Meat locker. You know,
We're gonna bring it back, Baldy and I.
yeah, you have to bring it back. Yo, when
Yeah.
you bring it back, man? Come on, man.